This is the Fight Wedge version 3. Is this your next fight pad? Let's talk about it. And here's the controller. As you can see, it's got a PlayStation shape to it now. This is the Fight Wedge version 2. I really enjoy using this guy, it's great. In addition to the new shape, you also get two back buttons here on the back. And check this out. It says Made in Canada. Isn't that cool or what? Right below Made in Canada, you're gonna notice two small buttons. It says B and R. This stands for boot and reset. These buttons here is to control the microcontroller itself. Most of you probably don't ever need to touch this. Maybe if your controller is all glitchy and stuff, then you'll use this. On the top of the controller here, you're gonna notice that there are two USB ports. One is USB-C, and you use this to connect it to the computer to play with the controller. Now the USB-A port here is supposed to solve the disconnection issue after 8 minutes when you are using it on the PS5. But honestly, I didn't need to use this. I just used the USB-C port with my converter here. This is the FGC2 converter, and I'm able to play it for more than 8 minutes, and it doesn't disconnect. So there you go. It also comes with a D-pad module as well. The default one that's on here is a slider type of D-pad. We still have the LCD screen here. We also have the start back button here and a couple menu buttons. Let's start with the face buttons. There are 6 face buttons here, so this is great for a game like Street Fighter. And these use keyboard switches. Actually, the whole controller uses keyboard switches. The face buttons are linear. Super satisfying and very responsive. The only minor issue I have with the face buttons, the spaces between the far right buttons here are a tiny bit smaller than these buttons over here, and you'll get used to it over time. But in the beginning, whenever I want to press the middle button here, sometimes the side of my thumb here would accidentally press this button. Same thing up here, just because there's not a lot of space here. So I would love it if it's moved out a little bit, or move these buttons to the left just a tiny bit to make the spaces here even. But other than that, these work great. Now you can also play claw with this as well. However, because of the handle here, it kind of gets into the way. So it's kind of hard for me to press X holding it like this. And I have actually pretty big hands. Because of this, it's probably best if you rest this side of the controller on your lap and then play it like this. Right, just like an arcade stick. Now with a form factor like this, there's no problem at all playing claw. Now let's talk about the shoulder button. This is a little different than the previous version. You see how the previous version is actually quite inward. So it was moved outward quite a bit. And also on the side here is exposed. The body of the controller does not go all the way up here. Now in theory, this will make it easier for you to access these buttons, right? However, if you're playing a character like Zangief here, or somebody who uses a lot of 360 motions, when you try to do 360s, the knuckle of your thumb here is gonna press against the side of the controller for leverage, right? So you can go like this. I often find myself to accidentally press this button when trying to do 360. You see that? Just because I'm trying to find the leverage, and this area is open and there's nothing here to prevent me from accidentally pressing these. You gotta be careful to lift your finger up and not touch these buttons. Check out the old version. You see this part of the controller, there's nothing here. This way, when I do 360, it doesn't affect these buttons. I honestly think this is a really cool idea, and it looks nice too. You see how it's exposed and you can see the keyboard switches. But for practical purposes, I would probably move these guys in a little bit, close this gap up, and raise the buttons so that you can press it. The other thing could be because I have really long fingers and large hands, my knuckle is literally right on the shoulder buttons. If you have smaller hands, that probably won't be an issue for you. Or if you're not using characters that use a lot of 360s. In terms of feel, these feels really nice. Again, they are linear switches. just like the face buttons. Just super satisfying. Alright, let's get to the D-pad. The version that comes installed is the slider. Right? This is very much like an arcade stick, but for your thumb. While this is a great idea and I think it's really fun to mess around with, it's just a little too slow because of the travel for me to play this competitively. And one of the main issues with the slider is the double tap, right? So if you play a character that has a lot of double taps, this is not the best. So Bass here has a combo where I have to do double tap down forward to do his combo. I can't get the double tap out quick enough for him to launch. Sometimes I can, nope, most of the time I cannot. It's just too slow. The other thing I noticed is this slider, at least on this version, is a little more sticky than the slider on version 2. If you notice on version 2, there's a little space here between the faceplate and the disc. But on this guy, it looks like it's pretty flush to the faceplate to me. Because of this, when you slide it around, there's a lot of friction against the faceplate. The nature of the slider mechanism in itself is kind of slow already. Now with the friction of the faceplate, it makes it even more sticky and slow. This slider does have some positive points. It's got a square gate, as you can see here. So diagonals is super accurate. You just pull it into the corner and then bam, your diagonal is gonna come out. But unfortunately though, during the heat of battle, you're gonna pull and push this thing like crazy, right? Oftentimes what would happen to me is when I go down, I push it too hard and it goes to down back. And this causes me to drop a lot of combos. So while diagonals are fantastic, straight directions, you gotta be careful and not push it too hard or else it's just gonna slide into the diagonal slots. It's not all bad news. This slider here is great at 360 motions or circular motions. It's just great. Now what I did here is I pull it back, go to one corner, go to the other corner, and then go to the upper corner, and then do a throw, press punch. Look at that, look how easy it is because of the corners. Also, the tiger knee can be pretty difficult to perform on most controllers. This is probably the best D-pad to use when you want to do tiger knee. Normally, what you would have to do is buffer a quarter circle backwards, right, like this, and then jump forward and press kick at the same time. But with this guy, I guess the shortcut, if you will, is press down forward, so one corner, and then pull it back to this corner, down backwards, and then to slide it up to this corner, so you got 3 corners to do, and then kick at the same time when you press up. See that? 3 times in a row. What's unique about this slider, and also with the D-pad version, is that the disc here spins. And this is great because you don't have to take your thumb off the stick. It just spins with it. It's a lot easier on your thumb than something like this, right? Where you're sliding it on a non-movable surface. However, the more I use it, the more I notice about the side effect of this. So for example, if you want to do quarter circle forward, so you just put your thumb here on the edge, do like this. Your natural inclination is pull it down, slide your thumb up here, right, to the forward position. But what happens when you do that? Right, because of this spin, it's gonna push the stick to up forward. You see how he's jumping, right? So you can't really do that. With this, you gotta train yourself to pull down forward, and you gotta stop here, just right before you hit the forward position. And this has me wonder, would it be better if this thing doesn't spin, right? That way you have more control over the slider. Because as of right now, while it is cool that it spins and it's a lot more comfortable and easier on your thumb, there's just a lot of little details that you have to relearn to use this slider. In addition to the slider, we also have the D-pad. I'm gonna flip it over. We're gonna unscrew this guy, and this guy right here to open up this part of the D-pad. When you switch it to the D-pad here, you're gonna notice that the controls are backwards. In order for me to jump forward, I gotta do down back. Here we go. When you press left, right, you see how this thing goes to the right. And when you press right, it goes to the left. So what you gotta do is press and hold these buttons, S2, B3, and B4. On this controller, that's this guy right here, and then X and Y for 5 seconds. And you're gonna see this menu right here. I'll link this site in the description. And click this, go to configuration and pin mapping. Now this is something new, I think, is you can view the pin. So click on pin viewer. Now I'm gonna click left here, and it's gonna tell me that this is pin number 4. So we're gonna go to left. Right now it's mapped to right, so change that to left. And then we're gonna do it for up, down, and right. And we're gonna save it and reboot the controller. Left is left, right is right, down is down, and up is up. I prefer the D-pad a lot more than I do the slider. And the main reason is the slider is very slow in comparison to the D-pad. With the D-pad, to do double tap, you just go like that, right? Whereas with the slider, to do double tap, you gotta go and let it go, and then again. That takes too much time. With this guy, just a press of a button. Now with this version of the controller, I'm having trouble with diagonals. So these are keyboard switches. I'm gonna push this down. Okay, you hear that? There's a click, but the button didn't register. It's still neutral. You have to push it all the way in and bottoming it out for it to register. Click, nothing. Because you have to literally bottom this out, both of these buttons. I wonder if that has an effect on diagonals here. So I pull out my old V2 version, and guess what? I freaking killed it with this controller. I destroyed everybody. So I reached out to Banana Fiction and asked him, hey, is there anything that's different about this D-pad versus the old one? And what he told me was the click that you hear doesn't necessarily mean that's when the button activates. There's a little variance. So I guess in this version, the switches here actually took a lot longer to activate, at least for me, than on this controller probably. When you try to do a diagonal, when you press it just once, alright, you see here, back comes out. So what you want to do here is press and hold so that both buttons activate at the same time. Now down back comes out. But that's just too slow, right? In an actual match, you don't have time to press and hold every direction. And let me tell you, I was super excited to get this controller because I really love this controller here. It was great. So it really pains me to tell you that the D-pad on this guy is just not as good and accurate as the version 2. There are some good things about this D-pad though. Motion input on here is great. Piece of cake. My absolute favorite thing to do on this D-pad here is when you're trying to do double quarter circles. So for example, to do a special move, we're gonna do double quarter circle forward, but because this thing spins, you don't have to ever take your thumb off. Check this out. So all I gotta do is put my thumb here and then go up, slide it back down and go back up. It's gonna be super quick like that. All right, check this out. Look at that.
Come on, it's time to train.
Look at how easy that is. I absolutely love the fact that I can spin this guy and it goes back and forth super fast. And that's the thing about designing controllers and designing D-pads, is you gotta find that balance, right? While I love the fact that this thing spins, so I can do double quarter circles hella fast, but on the other hand, in other moves, I want this thing not to spin, so that I have more control. For some moves, the spinning mechanism is awesome, but for other moves, it slips out of your hands. And to be honest with you, I don't know what the right answer is. I'm not a controller designer or anything. I just tell you what works and what doesn't work. And this is why it's so hard to get the D-pad right for fighting games. But in general, this D-pad here is great for motion input. It's just that the diagonals here are not perfect. You have to be super precise in terms of the angle you press to activate it. Now with this D-pad, because it doesn't slide around, you don't have that jumping issues. So for example, check out my thumb and pay attention to the screen here. So I'm gonna do down, down, back, and then I'm gonna go back. You see as I go back, the back button still stays there. It doesn't go up, triggering a jump.
Come on. It's time to train.
Now the other thing that Banana Fiction asked me to mention in this review is with this D-pad, you take this guy out, because this is 3D printed, there's like ridges, so this part here is sanded down manually by himself. But you can use plastic safe oil to smooth this thing out yourself. But honestly, I don't have a problem with it. This thing rotates pretty good for me. You also have the back buttons here. I programmed this to down, so that way when I back up and I want to block down, I can do that. It's the same linear switch as the face buttons. I had told Banana Fiction that it would be better if the buttons are on the handles. That way it's a little easier to press. Unfortunately, he's not able to do that, and so this is the best that he can do due to the placement of the components in here. I mean, it's still functional. You can press it, but you kind of have to have big hands or long fingers like me to reach this comfortably. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed with this controller, especially the second version was so good for me. Maybe I got lucky here, or maybe I got unlucky here with the switches. Now, the good news is this, because this is 3D printed, he can iterate on this and fix these issues really quickly. If I were to make any changes to the controller, I would go back to something like this form factor here. I really enjoy this. This way I can play claw without this handle getting in the way. Of course, we talked about the D-pad, and then also change the shoulder buttons a little bit. Move it in, raise it up, and close this guy out. If you're interested in checking this controller out, I'll link his website in the description. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully you found the video to be helpful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.